Now, what am I talking about here? Rishi Sunak looks like he's got some sort of an extra deal when it comes to Brexit, an extra particular one when it comes to the borders in and around Northern Ireland. Here's part of his announcement, but apparently King Charles might have been involved in some of these negotiations. I can't wait for your say on that. But here's the British Prime Minister. Roll the tape.
I believe the Windsor framework marks a turning point for the people of Northern Ireland. It fixes the practical problems they face. It preserves the balance of the Belfast Good Friday Agreement.
He's such a private schoolboy getting to play to be Prime Minister. But anyway, feel free to speak like a normal person. But what about King Charles? Do you reckon he was in this?
Firstly, this is huge. This is the biggest political victory in history. Do you realise, as a result of this, we can now transport sausages from England to Northern Ireland? We can have the same sausages on cocktail sticks at parties in Belfast or London. I mean, this is enormous. Can you imagine the scale of this victory? Well, all that Rishi Sunak has done is to pare back some of the shocking rules that Boris Johnson so dishonestly signed us up to back in 2019. But the part that makes my blood boil is calling it the Windsor framework, using the name of that historic town as if in some way to convey to the world this is a really, really big deal, and then to involve the King, to get the King to meet a woman called Ursula von der Leyen, a failed German politician who is now at the head of the bureaucracy in Brussels. She hasn't been elected, she can't be removed. She's not even a head of state. And before the so-called deal is even ratified by Parliament, the King effectively is giving it his blessing. Now, we are told the King acts on advice from ministers, especially from the Prime Minister. But because the King is advised to do something, doesn't mean that he has to. And here's where the great danger lies. Twice in my time in the European Parliament, Charles came and addressed that assembly. Once I remember causing a bit of a furore because I wouldn't give him a standing ovation, and I sat there with my arms crossed because he basically said, I love the European Union, I want it to have more power. Now, I did think at the time that if we went back a few centuries, princes that spoke in that manner might have finished up in the Tower of London. But never mind, we are where we are. He promised us, as King, he would not get involved in politics. Had this change already gone through Parliament, then it might have been fair enough to meet von der Leyen. But as it was being presented with the use of the name Windsor, with his role as King, I think in constitutional terms, he's made a very big mistake. And I worry that if he goes on behaving like this, he will alienate the section of the population who are most inclined to believe in monarchy, namely the Unionists in Northern Ireland and many of us over here on the mainland too. It is a deeply... From Sunak, I'm not surprised. This is classic Goldman Sachs cynical manoeuvring. But the King, I think, has made a mistake.